This is 5 Star Life Radio on News Talk 95.3 Michiana's News Channel. Now your host, Seth Moss.
You're listening to 5 Star Life Radio, brought to you by Global Link Distribution, a supplier to the RV, manufactured housing, cargo trailer, and cabinet shop industries, as well as Dometic, the ultimate outdoor equipment engineered for living. You can check them out at Dometic.com. Both Global Link and Dometic are proud sponsors of 5 Star Life Radio. I'm Coach Seth. You're listening to 5 Star Life Radio on 95.3 MNC, and I'm joined with my co-host, Coach Mia.
Thanks, Seth. So what are we going to learn today?
You know what? We're going to talk today. We always come from the studio recording our video curriculum. And by the way, if you just stumbled across our show, I want to encourage you to go to our website, 5starlife.org. It's the word 5 or the number 5, and then the word star and life.org. We're a nonprofit, started 17 years ago now, that's on a mission to change the face of education, of sports, of culture. And research says if you want to move the needle, if you want to change the world, you change one person at a time. And each person's success or failure is based off an operating system that we all have. That operating system determines the way we look at ourselves in the mirror. It determines how we treat people. It determines the size of our vision, our dreams, our work ethic, our value system, everything. We call that operating system a mindset. And so our mission for 17 years has focused on helping kids develop a healthy mindset. That's the one domino you have to get right. No more Band-Aid programs. Let's get to the root. Mm-hmm. And the domino effect, the ripple effect, is kids' behavior improves, their grades go up, their relationships improve, they get healthy from the inside out, and then success is a byproduct. Same is true with us. So learn more at 5starlife.org. And we just filmed a lesson. Actually, we're wrapping up a series of 7 lessons teaching kids how to restore confidence. Restore is our theme that we're filming this year for tens of thousands of kids across America. Restore means to bring back, to repair, to renovate something. And after the last 18 months, going on 2 years almost, we have been through hell. We've been through lockdowns and isolation and economic issues and record level of depression and anxiety. And so this idea of restoring confidence, a lot of people have lost their confidence, and kids especially, some of the things they've been through. Adolescence is one of the most challenging phases of life. And then you throw on the isolation and the pandemic and all this stuff that's happening and all the pressures of social media that really skews who they are, the way they look at themselves. So one of the things we're teaching them is the number one enemy of confidence, and that is adversity. So adversity comes from a word adverse, which, an adverse situation, adversity is really meant to push you down, to set you back, to trap you, to kind of enslave you, right? They're obstacles. And, as adults, we all kind of have the head knowledge that like how we deal with adversity will make us or break us. Mm. But we're teaching kids at a young age that, listen, adversity is the thing that wants to destroy your confidence, that wants you to go into the shell of who you are instead of stepping out into the person you were really destined to be. So adversity hits us all, and there are researchers have termed a phrase, an acronym actually, called ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences. And they say that these adverse childhood experiences, adversity at a young age, before the age of 18, adversity could be your parents getting a divorce. There's a bunch of different ACEs. So substance abuse or emotional or sexual abuse, physical and emotional neglect, domestic violence, homelessness, poverty, having a parent who's in prison, incarcerated. These are all, according to research, adverse childhood experiences. When they're experienced in childhood, they can do some serious damage. It's adversity. If we don't give kids the tools to learn how to handle those things. And research says that the more of these ACEs or adverse experiences that kids have, the more challenging life can be. Now, growing up, I had a close friend who experienced just about every single one of these adverse events. So he and his brother were raised by a single mom. Dad was incarcerated. They grew up in poverty. Mom battled addictions and brought all kinds of people into the home who abused her children. And because of her battle with addiction, she neglected her kids. So my friend grew up embarrassed of his family, had no sense of family pride. And his mom didn't celebrate his birthdays because she was too high to remember. And she never really did those things that moms are supposed to do to support their kids, making them feel special, comforting them, just being there, being their number one fan in life. He didn't get that. And so ultimately, this brought pain and confusion to my friend and threatened to destroy his confidence. And I know there's people listening that you can relate, like you're maybe having memories of different things that you experienced as a kid. And I know some people are like, oh my gosh, cry me a river, like move on already. And that's exactly what we want to teach kids to do, but with compassion and with care. Like it's a real painful stuff, right? So like my friend, maybe you've never told anyone about your adversity, the neglect, the abuse, the pain. My friend didn't wear it on his shoulder. He didn't wear it on his sleeve. You had no clue what he was going for, unless he would open up and share, which as he got older, he did. But he always wore hand-me-down clothes and shoes that just didn't look as nice. And he says he remembers seeing kids who had new clothes, new shoes, thinking, I will never have that. And he just said there's this sense of hopelessness just from being poor. So like poverty itself is an adverse childhood experience. And so ultimately, the question that kids are asking is, okay, so what do I do if I've had these adverse experiences? Does it mean I'm never going to be confident? I'll never amount to anything? Obviously, we as adults, we know better. We're like, no. There's so many success stories of people that came from nothing, that had every bad thing you can imagine that turned out okay. And there's another group of people that would say you're forever going to be a victim and you're just going to have to cope with it and you have to stay down in this pit. And ultimately, what we're teaching kids is it does not mean you're broken or have to be damaged goods for the rest of your life. And it also doesn't mean you're alone. Research says actually this adversity, these adverse events, it just means we're human. So literally 2 out of every 3 people that you meet have had at least one adverse childhood experience. So although we're tempted to feel like we're alone, we had bad luck, we're truly all in this thing together. And so, but what do you do if you've had these experiences? Like the adversity is designed to attack you, to take you out, to plunge you into depression, cripple you with insecurity. And it does this by smacking a label on you. I don't know if I've ever shared this on air before. I think I have shared a little bit of this, but as a kid, I had a cousin who sexually molested me. And, you know, the experience was a moment, right? It was a moment in time. And although that moment in time passed, the moment was over, the molestation was over, the worst part of it to me wasn't the moment. It was the thoughts and the feelings of the moment that would reoccur. And it was almost like that moment slapped a label on me. And the label was you're abused or you're dirty or there's just something wrong or off, that there's something wrong with you. And I had this feeling that people just kind of knew. And it led to insecurity. It led to some stuff that was hard to deal with. And
was this like a couple of years later, or I mean, how far out was it? Or immediately, or
so it was more immediate, and then at times it would come back just randomly, right? And we'll talk in another program about some of the triggers. Like that's what happens. You can have an adverse experience, some traumatic experience, even though you're no longer in the situation. There's no reason that you should feel unsafe or bad, and there's no reason rationally that a child should feel bad or dirty about something somebody did to them. But these are all the negative effects of adversity, of trauma, and so. And they can destroy a kid's confidence. They can ruin their mindset. And unless we teach them how to overcome these things. And ultimately, my friend who had all this adversity, all this trauma that went on, he did something. He didn't even know the power of what he was doing, but he made a decision. Often with trauma and adversity, what we do is we let those labels stick to us and we let them define us. And so we are abused, we are neglected, we are poor, we are whatever it is, we are stuck there. And my friend's like, hold on, I am not my mom. I am not going to live as a victim of her addiction. I'm not the one who's addicted. I'm not the one who's incarcerated. I'm not the one with all the problems. I'm living in an environment that is the problem. And so he just intuitively made a decision that he was going to be successful. He wanted to be successful. And so what he did intuitively was he said, I'm going to surround myself with success. I'm going to surround myself. And so he intuitively surrounded himself with other people that were successful. Just there was a mentor in his community that he surrounded himself with that was successful, that he gravitated towards. It was a coach. There was other kids that were successful that came from good families, and he just would spend his time around them. He just said, I'm gonna spend my time around the best athletes, the best students, the best people, because I'm gonna be successful.
Sure.
And I'm gonna pick up those traits from them. And that's what he did. So he ultimately took some incredible steps that I'm going to talk about right after this commercial break. In the meantime, go check out our website at 5starlife.org. We'll be right back after this.
This is 5 Star Life Radio on News Talk 95.3 Michiana's News Channel, your breaking news and weather station.